The Democratic Party elites are increasingly concerned the midterm elections will be a base election and their centrist politics more irrelevant as insurgent candidates like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders have garnered wide support. Essentially, what we're looking at right now is a struggle within the Democratic Party between the liberals and the leftists. Basically, the long-standing Democratic Party elite fear people like Cortez. They fear people like Sanders, what they call Sanders-style socialism. Now, of course, this is just social democracy, not actually socialism, because they present no challenge or present no intention to actually abolish capitalism. They just want a welfare state, which is what social democracy is. Now, they're very concerned over this because the Democratic Party is as tied to the big banks and to big business and as much as the Republican Party is, while they feign a kind of distance from them, which isn't real. As you'll remember, when Hillary Clinton was running against Donald Trump, she was criticized for meeting with those same Goldman Sachs people, giving speeches at big banks, etc., for doing the same thing that the Republicans do, while claiming that she's against the big banks and the influence that they wield in society. And she responded to this criticism by calling anyone who pointed this out as being misogynistic. Now, there's a think tank called The Third Way, and they recently held a conference in Ohio with Democrats to counter this so-called Bernie Sanders-style socialism. Now, here's one example. Democratic Representative Tim Ryan of Ohio got laughs when he got, "You're not going to make me hate somebody just because they're rich. I want to be rich." Now, I love the logic here. Something isn't wrong if they want to do it. And again, it also leads to the idea that somehow being that someone getting rich is like something they should be booed for. I mean, it's not someone getting rich, it's an inequitable distribution of wealth that causes certain problems. So they feel like, oh, you're just mad at me because I got rich and you didn't, kind of BS. No, it's actually the inequitable distribution of wealth, both domestically and internationally, that causes poverty, which is people are against. But this shows very much the mentality that the wealthy elite, those who profit from other people's labor, those who take, without even having given anything, but feign some kind of, virtue of taking some kind of risk when you can just write off debt and declare bankruptcy, as though somehow they're entitled to it, and that if you ever speak to the ills that are caused by poverty or they're caused by a system that creates poverty, you're somehow therefore the bad guy and they're the victim, because nothing says I'm a victim like capitalism. Now, let's be really honest. What this is about is that Trump has his base support and it's going to stay there. Like, Trump could do anything. Trump could nuke the United States, and these MAGA people would still celebrate him and declare that he did the right thing. Like, he's literally infallible to them. So the whole Trump thing have just completely eliminated any kind of centrist thinking. So any kind of centrists are not going to go for Donald Trump. Now, what the Democrats are saying is that we need to have these people who still think that somehow hope and change can come out of the Democratic Party, but have to appeal more to the centrists in order to defeat them in the elections. Now, if you're a Democratic Party, like if you're a regular Democrat, then this position would make sense to you, to try to get other people onto your side that probably wouldn't normally have been there, but are very angry at a lot of the things that Trump has done. But the problem is they're struggling against these leftists. They're not Marxists, they're not socialists, although a lot of them would probably claim that they are. But they are, you can at least call them leftists, who want to push the Democratic Party to the actual left instead of being right of center where it is now. Trying to do that in the Democratic Party isn't going to work. That's very obvious. The Democratic Party is as much in the pocket of big business as the Republican Party. They're just not overt about it the way the Republican Party is. So this idea, all of these, let's be honest, primarily young people who are looking at what they think is a possibility of changing the Democratic Party, are all flocking to this Cortez and Bernie Sanders nonsense, thinking they can actually change things within the Democratic Party. Did we not learn from the last election and what Bernie Sanders did to see that it's a fraud? Did we not already see the hope and change thing coming out of Obama, that the whole thing was a fraud? Should not the last 100 years of politics in the United States have already told us that the Democratic Party was a lie? Some people like to champion FDR as being, some kind of great thing. The only thing FDR did was save capitalism. He was by no means a good person. He still carried out the wars. He still carried out the oppression. He still was involved in all of that. They just don't get it. I mean, I understand these people that are, they don't want radical action. They don't want a revolution. They want reform. And that's very, very typical of first world people. They don't want a revolution because they don't need a whole new system. They just need the system they have now with some nice democratic reforms to it to get what they want. So it's just interesting that they really feel these like leftist-leaning liberal kids really think they're going to change things with the Democratic Party when it's not, and it's never been that way. Look at a lot of the changes that came out of the 60s. Did it come from voting for the Democratic Party? No. It came from very real radical action by many sectors of society. So simply thinking that you're just going to change the Democratic Party and all of a sudden you're going to be the good guys that make everything all better is just frankly nonsense. I mean, it would be great if these people were radicals, if they would just come over to our side and just carry out, the radical action that's needed to change things. That would be absolutely great. But instead, what the first world is stuck with is people who are pretending to be socialists. People like Bernie Sanders, people like Cortez, Kshama Sawant, who ran for office in essentially the municipal level, which did what to fight capitalism and didn't do anything. Even when she said radical, militant, nonviolent, proving that she probably doesn't know what most of those words mean. It's just, it boggles my mind that after all this time, after everything we've ever seen, they're still falling for it. So if you just want reform, you just want a nice, soft, cushy welfare state, well, I guess you could go ahead and try to change the Democratic Party, but just remember, you don't change the system. The system changes you. Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.